Discuss and consider award of outfitter concessionaire contract to James River Basin Canoe Livery Ltd. Chad.
All right, the request for proposals for the outfitter concessionaire were received prior to 2 o'clock on April 23rd. One proposal met all the qualifications put forth in the RFP and was received. Concessionaire will provide equipment rentals, shuttle service, organized trips, and other things along the Jackson River Scenic Trail and the Jackson River, as well as other locations. The business will be located in the facility that is being constructed in the intervale between the Jackson River Scenic Trail and the Jackson River. The concessionaire contract will initially be for 5 years with options for renewal. The concessionaire will be responsible to pay Alleghany County 6% of their gross revenue the first year, 7% the next year, and 8% each year after that. We chose to do a phased in percentage at the request of the concessionaire and based on their financial data that they shared with us in the RFP. They actually project to lose money the first couple of years before they're fully established, and then they will be back in the black. And so we felt it was appropriate to try to help a small business succeed as much as we can in starting off. They will also be responsible for all their taxes, building utilities, custodial care of the facilities. And once they're fully established, we project that the concessionaire fee may be over $13,000 a year. It is staff's recommendation that the board awards the concessionaire contract to the James River Basin Canoe Livery of Buchanan, Virginia, and authorize Mr. Lampert to sign all associated contract documents. James River Basin Canoe Livery is more familiarly known as Twin River Outfitters and plan to do business locally at the Alleghany Outdoors. And another thing that I wanted to mention as far as the percentage of their revenue, they are also required to pay a 3% percentage of their gross revenue for any of the trips and stuff that they conduct using Forest Service access points, which they have to do to that section of the river. Be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Board members have any questions, comments? Mr. Clark.
I've got 2. When we initially talked about this, I just wanted to make sure that they're going to have all of their equipment in Alleghany County, not registered in Alleghany County for personal property taxes. Yeah. The second thing is, I'm not keen on the idea of locking yourself in at 8%, and it's open-ended from there on. Most contracts have 1.5% cost of living or increase.
Well, by that time, you'd only be doing 8% potentially for the 3 years, and then the contract's up for renewal.
Well, you got a 5-year contract, and you cap out at 8%.
Right. That's what I'm saying. The first 2 years, and then the last 3 years will be the 8%, and then you're up for renewal, and then certainly negotiations can take place at that time.
So when it says 2 additional 5-year terms, may otherwise be negotiated. So you've allowed the rent concession to be negotiated also for gross revenue?
Correct.
That's the only thing I was worried about.
Well, I was just going to state that we looked at other localities and stuff and how they deal with this, and ours is fairly unique. But Roanoke County, in their Explore Park, does concessionaire things for the camping, the yurts, and the cabins and stuff that they do. 10% is generally the fee that you see charged. If you take our 8% and add the 3% Forest Service charge, they're actually going to be having to pay around 11%.
You mentioned $13,000 as a figure of revenue. Is that what we're talking about here with the 8%?
Right, that's the 8% once they're fully established, and a lot of that is based on their projections on what they'll be able to earn here.
Explain to me common area maintenance, how we're devising that, what they're responsible for and what we'd be responsible for in terms of grass mowing, upkeep, snow removal.
Yeah, it is a public park still. You know, we'll still be doing the maintenance as far as the grass cutting, typically we don't do snow removal for those kind of facilities, and that wouldn't impact their business in any way at all. And river access,
weed abatement, spraying,
any of that kind of stuff. Building-wise, they'll be responsible for all the general custodial care. Any damage that occurs, they'll be responsible for.
Maintaining roadways and easements. If they're pulling trailers in and out with.
Right, if something is tearing it up, but again, it's a public access point too, so that's kind of hard to say that they're going to be the cause of any of that kind of maintenance. Generally, we'll be responsible for any of the gravel and that kind of stuff.
Well, they're only going to be using a portion of the year. The rest of the year, the county and...
Right, and even when they're using it, it's still open. The actual park area and the river access is open to the public.
And the way I thought was that if organizations or groups wanted to use the buildings in the wintertime, they would still be able to use them also. So.
Right, with the specific to the meeting room area there, and the way we keep the building and everything, people wouldn't have access to where they store their
That's why I was
equipment
on here. I was going to get to that.
Right.
What in the off season, what we're covering and.
Right, yeah. So the public would have the ability to use the meeting room area.
Is that free?
Nothing like that has been determined yet, but we have fees set up for like our Sharon Senior Center rentals and stuff. So just do that. It's just $45.
That's fine.
How many months out of the year do they plan to operate?
Right now they're looking at April to about, I think, October, but it's going to kind of depend on what the market dictates. If you've got a warm time in November and stuff, they would certainly look at stretching it as long as they can, as long as it's financially feasible.
So out there also be used in the trail for bike rental?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Is it just for river rental?
No, sir, this is for the trail and everything, so they'll be doing the bike rentals and canoes and kayaks and tubing.
Well, I got one more pet peeve with the trail. At the homestead, they're still using their trail and they're still charging the folks at the homestead probably $50 a day to come down and either hike the trail or use the bikes on the trail. And we're getting nothing. And according to John, the homestead won't speak to us. They don't even want to address the issue. It's got to be some way that we can reap the benefits, they're reaping the benefits off of our trail. And we're getting nothing.
Well, one thing with the outfitter, it's going to be a more economical opportunity for people to utilize the trail and the river. I don't want to say it's...
I don't have a problem with that.
What I'm saying is that it's going to potentially pull some of those people that are using the homestead services back to Alleghany County and using our service within our area. I would say that there is some benefit, even though the homestead is charging. We don't see a direct revenue. It is an amenity to this region that certainly helps attract people to stay at the homestead, which certainly benefits Bath County, which certainly I think benefits the region as a whole as well.
There's a good many people live in Alleghany County and Covey can work the homestead too.
Sure.
Maybe we need to...
Well, they do, but we don't provide recreation for the homesteads, but I'm trying to get at. I mean, they charge for everything at the homestead at our expense. It's got to be some way we can capitalize on the homestead using our trade.
Yeah, if there's any ideas of how to single out an organization to charge them or something, it'd be
if we extend the trail into Bath County, they're going to really capitalize on it.
Sure. They certainly will. It certainly will be a big benefit to them, and I certainly would like to see them step forward as other businesses in Alleghany County have, specifically West Rock, and supporting it and knowing that it's a great asset to the community, the people, and just the cost of, the quality of life for the citizens, and then the tourism and benefit of it as well.
Didn't you have a meeting with Bath County?
We did, and I'm going to touch on that in my second one, but I can certainly speak to that a little bit now. We met with the county administrator and their planner, and they were all very supportive of the idea of coming into Bath County they see the benefit to the region and to the trail to extend and have another main trailhead and have that attraction for that area as well. The Board of Supervisors of Bath County did a resolution of support for the trail, which helped in our funding search, and they also committed $5,000, which also helps in gaining the grants and stuff that we're seeking. They offered support policing the trail in Bath County, and they also look at the potential, once everything's said and done up there, for any of the utility costs that we may incur with the trailhead.
But they do realize that this is going to benefit Bath County.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But like Cleta says, but yet they don't want to come up to the plate with...
Well, I believe Bath County is. Now, the homestead, they have not. The discussions with the homestead started years ago under a different executive director, and initially they were, I actually got to meet with him, and he was very supportive of the idea and said he would speak to, his higher-ups and stuff when he was going on a trip to Texas, and never heard back from him, and they lost contact at that point. And since it transitioned to the new executive director, we had some emails back and forth, and he certainly offered support in words.
Verbal support.
Right, and there is some benefit to that, but certainly no financial support at this point, and no further communications, and since we've tried to reach him.
I think, John, you want to add something to it? You started to speak up there.
Before Mr. Nicely, and I pointed out, there is Ms. Vanderstall asked about the minimum operation. I pointed there on page 2 in the contracts. They're required to operate the facility from April 1 through August 31st. Let's say November. Oh, August, I'm sorry. October 1st. The other thing, Chad has reached out. Mr. Harrison and Ms. Ryder and Bath County and their board of supervisors are supportive of the project and are interested in working with the county as we consider developing that. The issue that Mr. Nicely brings up and that had been non-responsive since the initial conversations that Chad had years ago is the homestead. And we'll continue to try to reach out to them and bring them on board. And they do charge for bringing patrons down and utilizing the trail. So we'll continue to try to follow up with them. But to date, I know that's been of interest to the board. To date, they've been non-responsive to the recent requests.
Maybe we should require them to have a business license to operate on the trail. And that's settled. Require them to get a business license in Alleghany County.
What exactly are they doing? Aren't they just transporting people with equipment?
I believe that's what they're bringing visitors down, much like they do on the river, and allow them to use the trail.
So the fee is for that, probably, as much as anything else. So that kind of raises the question of...
There's a fee they charge, and we should be
for their
taxing that fee.
transportation and their equipment. And that seems crucial to understand, that we have to, accept the fact they're giving the transportation to their customers with their equipment. So whether that allows us to ask them to pay for being on the trail is a whole question to be considered.
They provide a limousine service. They need to be paying.
My suggestion, we let the outfitter get settled.
We got to wait.
Let's see where this goes. Yes. And we'll continue. Staff can continue to work on it at the homestead. But let's us provide a service similar to what they have up there, and let's see where that gets. Maybe the homestead would end up using our concessionaires. to furnish the bikes and pick up some of the deliveries, because he could very easily just pick up there as easy as they can bring them down here. We need to prove ourselves first. Let's get our guy up and running. That's my comment. The only other thing I would add, I could tell by the structure of this, our attorney had something to do with it. He's reviewed it, so.
Ms. Fontana prepared it for us.
I was going to say, this has legal staff written all over it.
Yes.
So it was put together, so it must be okay that way. And the only comment I got was someone asked me that they're only leasing the building itself. The public would still be able to use the out ramp on the site.
That's correct. It's still a public park. The parking area, they will only have a certain number that will be designated specifically for the outfitter. The rest is going to be open to the public. The ramp, the access, all that will be open to the public.
The Forest Service and the 3%, does that cover all the Forest Service facilities, only the ones they use?
It's only one that they use. So if they have a trip on, say, well, it's not everything here. If they do just the trail, if they do a service just for the trail, obviously the Forest Service isn't charging for that. But any of the Forest Service owned access points, if they do a drop off on them, then that is, they have to pay 3% of their revenue on that.
So no way the county could negotiate a reduced price, just one?
This isn't just an Alleghany County fee. This is a nationwide thing. My understanding, I know it's Virginia-wide, but I would assume that it's a federal fee that is standard.
How can they charge a fee up there, they don't charge a fee on the other access points that you have?
They do to established outfitters. They don't to general public.
Okay.
They don't charge anybody. They don't keep nothing.
It's same on hunting and different things. If you're an outfitter and you go into the national forest, you have to have a license and pay a fee. If you're generating and making money off of it, you have to pay them a fee. If you're just the average citizen walking through the woods, there is no fee. Which brings us to, I entertain a motion to approve this contract. So moved. By Mr. Garten, seconded by Ms. Vanderstahl. Any further discussion? Melissa?
Mr. Griffith?
Yes.
Mr. Nicely?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Vanderstahl? Yes. Mr. Garten?
Yes.
Mr. Best?
Yes.